No, folks say, oh, they're just cleaning up this place because all those fancy leaders are coming into town. That's true, because it's true. But it's also true for months and months and months prior to APEC. We've been having different conversations.
Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have already proven their incompetence and poor leadership during the Los Angeles wildfires. Now, as we experience rampant lawlessness and civil unrest, it's never been more clear California's in a state of turmoil.
California just went boom. Gavin Newsom is reportedly losing his mind after Mel Gibson, yes, the Mad Max legend himself, dropped a truth bomb the governor definitely didn't want out. And let's be real, when Mel Gibson is the calmest person in the room, chaos is guaranteed. The whole thing feels straight out of a Hollywood script. Political tension, celebrity drama, and enough ego to power Los Angeles for a week. California's spinning, Hollywood's buzzing, and Gavin's reportedly scrambling to contain the fallout. Buckle up, because this one's about to get wild.
All that reputational damage that's being done as they're sitting there on horses with American flags running through soccer fields, scaring kids that are playing soccer in the middle of the day at a summer camp. For what? Just toughness. It's a weakness masquerading as strength. That's what I don't like about this son of a
Angelinos, why are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass still in office? How much more of their destructive decision-making masquerading as leadership are we going to tolerate? It's time to take back our community.
Before we move on, make sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe. You don't want to miss this one. California's used to earthquakes, but nobody expected the next big one to come from Mel Gibson. 1 minute, you're stuck in traffic on the 405, and the next, the governor's reportedly losing it because the man famous for yelling freedom just shouted something even louder. The truth, or at least Mel's version of it, which, let's be honest, is about as subtle as a flamethrower in a yoga studio.
No adequate excuse the governor or mayor can make for this gross mismanagement and failure to preemptively deal with what they knew was coming. Was it incompetence? Was it indifference? Complacency? Carelessness? Was it negligence? Absolutely. Was it criminal negligence?
They don't care.
See, there are many who say that it is criminal negligence. Did the mayor and the governor get...
Suddenly, Gavin Newsom's perfectly gelled hair started to lose its grip. The governor, a man who usually looks like he's auditioning for a cologne commercial, now found himself in a cinematic showdown with Mel Gibson, the guy who once went to war with the entire British Army. The wild part? Mel looked calmer. Apparently, Gibson just decided to speak up about California's favorite paradox, the state where everything's expensive except common sense.
Mel Gibson lost his house in these wildfires. And what you just saw there was an effort to recall the governor and Mayor Bass. Does his star power in this matter?
It matters in the sense we're playing it now on national television on a highly rated Fox and Friends First show, and that has gone viral on social media. And meanwhile, the same day that Mel Gibson says what he says there, and he's correct on so many things as far as the management of wildfires, Gavin Newsom's approval on the handling of the wildfires is only 30%.
Wow.
And that's when Newsom lost it. Because when a Hollywood legend who survived apocalypses, medieval wars, and 4 lethal weapon movies calls you out, it's not a debate, it's a public execution with popcorn. Suddenly, the California sunshine didn't seem so bright anymore. The governor's PR team probably had to call NASA just to calculate the level of damage control required.
Untenable for people to make a living here. And put the power and the privilege in the hands of competent leaders whose goals are to protect us and the way of life this nation was founded upon and promises to offer.
Because Mel Gibson doesn't expose things quietly. He drops bombs, dusts off his hands, and goes surfing while everyone else scrambles to figure out what just happened. And the timing couldn't have been worse. Newsom's been on his America's Backup President tour, strutting around like the guy who just knows he's destined for the Oval Office. The problem? The country's not exactly begging for another slick-talking governor with Hollywood buddies and a faint whiff of expensive chaos.
Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass, well, they were also suggesting that LA was under control. They had it covered while, of course, LA was essentially burning. And they've been blaming Donald Trump for all the chaos in LA, while Gavin Newsom has been trying to emerge as the strong leader of the Democrats as he eyes off the presidency in 3 years' time. But actor Mel Gibson has spoken out, blasting the governor and the mayor, rightfully so, for their disastrous leadership.
But then Mel Gibson, and of all people, decides to open his mouth, and suddenly California looks like a deleted scene from Mad Max Bureaucracy Road. Gavin tried to brush it off, of course. Classic political damage control. A few press conferences, some polished smiles, and a whole lot of words that sound like leadership but mean absolutely nothing. The problem? You can't outspin Mel Gibson. The man's chaos is an energy source. Wild, poetic, and unstoppable. California, the land of movie stars and moral lectures, suddenly getting called out by one of its most unpredictable sons. Mel didn't need a press secretary, a speechwriter, or a committee. He just needed a microphone and a reason. And apparently Gavin Newsom gave him both. What Mel reportedly exposed wasn't just a scandal, it was an entire mood.
Said, I'm going to take care of the forests and maintain the forests and do all that kind of stuff. He didn't do anything.
Didn't do anything. And then on top of that, they cut the water off.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's all funny. And then I think all our tax dollars probably went for Gavin's hair gel. I don't know, but it's like, it's sad. It's like the place is just on fire.
Well, the whole state is just so poorly.
He painted California as the world's most glamorous disaster, a place where billionaires build bunkers while regular folks can't afford rent, where Hollywood celebrities preach about injustice from their infinity pools, and where the governor talks sustainability from a motorcade that guzzles enough gas to power Fresno. That's when the eruption began. Newsom's camp reportedly went into full panic mode. Emergency meetings, late-night calls, and probably someone whispering, why couldn't it have been literally anyone else but Mel? Because when Mel Gibson calls you out, it doesn't just sting, it goes viral. Instantly. The memes start writing themselves, spreading across timelines like wildfire. The irony? Both men are pure California archetypes. Overconfident, dramatic, and always auditioning for something bigger. Newsom wants the presidency. Mel just wants to watch the world burn, with a smirk and a surfboard. The polished politician versus the unpredictable wildcard. The showdown nobody saw coming, but everybody wanted to watch. The wildcard stole the spotlight. The governor's team scrambled to contain the chaos. A few polished statements about misinformation and distorted narratives. Basically, the political fog machine on overdrive. But the internet doesn't care about context. It cares about spectacle. And watching Gavin Newsom lose his cool because of a Hollywood rebel, that's pure entertainment. Every time Gavin tried to pivot back to policy talking points, Mel's name popped up again, like a jump scare in a political horror movie. It didn't matter what the governor said, the memes were louder, and deep down, Californians kind of loved it. Whether you adore or despise Gavin Newsom, there's something universally satisfying about watching the powerful squirm, especially when the guy making them squirm does it with zero filter and Oscar-level dramatic flair. As the story snowballed, Newsom's team tried everything, pivoting to climate change, homelessness, sustainability, anything that didn't involve Mel Gibson trending. But the internet never forgets. Once a Hollywood legend calls you out, it's no longer a headline. It's part of your political legacy.
California has a lot of problems that sort of baffle the mind as far as
Amen.
why they do things.
Think about that.
And then in the events like this, you sort of look,
Look at that fire.
is it on purpose? It's an insane thing to think. But one begins to ponder whether or not there is a purpose in mind. What could it be?
And that's when people started digging up Gavin's greatest hits. The French laundry dinner, the pandemic hypocrisy, the endless grandstanding. Mel Gibson's comments didn't just make headlines. They cracked open a vault Californians were trying to forget. Suddenly, the governor's carefully polished speeches looked less like leadership and more like performances. And Mel's chaos? Somehow, it looked real. In a state built entirely on image, authenticity is dangerous. That's what Gibson exposed. Not a policy, not a scandal, but the illusion itself. The idea that California's leadership runs on optics, not outcomes. That it's more about looking good on camera than actually fixing anything. And that's the kind of truth no PR team can manage, script, or polish away. The harder Gavin tried to regain control, the more it slipped through his hands. Every statement sounded like a movie villain insisting he's the hero. Meanwhile, Mel Gibson was probably somewhere sipping coffee, watching the internet melt down with that signature grin. Calm, chaotic, and completely unbothered. You know it's bad when headlines start reading what Mel Gibson's comments reveal about California's political soul. Suddenly, every analyst in America had something to say. Half called Mel a truth-teller. The other half called him a troublemaker. But everyone agreed on one thing. Gavin Newsom was rattled, and you could see it. The governor, once the picture of confidence, now looked like a man realizing he's starring in someone else's movie. In politics, perception is everything. And right now, the perception was brutal. Gavin Newsom, the king of control, had just been outmaneuvered by a man whose entire career is built on losing control. But beneath the chaos was something real, something Gavin probably didn't want to face. Mel Gibson's outburst echoed what many Californians already feel, but rarely say out loud. The Golden State's shine is fading. Behind the luxury, the slogans, and the moral lectures lies dysfunction that no amount of polished speeches can cover forever. Newsom tried to pivot, to steer the conversation back to policy and away from the circus. But it was too late. It's hard to talk about green energy when the internet is looping a meme of Mel Gibson roasting you in 4K. It's like trying to host a climate summit while the DJ keeps blasting, "We will rock you."
The myriad of issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties, and the like. So we're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward, and we'll be presenting those in a matter of days, not just weeks.
A message from you to Governor Newsom or Karen Bass tonight?
Spend less on hair gel.
And in a strange way, this entire meltdown might be the most honest moment California politics has had in years. For once, the masks dropped, the governor's composure cracked, the celebrity sheen shattered, and the absurdity finally showed itself. It was peak California. Two men embodying everything wild about the state. One built on charm, the other on chaos, colliding in a cinematic explosion of ego, media, and misplaced morality. By week's end, Newsom's team scrambled to spin it as a distraction, but the damage was done. The lines were already blurred, and Mel Gibson had stormed through like a leather-booted wrecking ball. When the dust settled, both men retreated, Gavin to his podium, Mel to his unpredictable mystique. But the internet didn't move on. The memes kept spreading, the jokes kept landing, and every time Gavin popped up on camera, someone somewhere would drop the same line in the comments. At least Mel warned us, that's the thing about politics in the age of spectacle. You can survive scandals, hypocrisy, even unpopularity. But once you become a meme, you're finished. And Gavin Newsom just got memed into oblivion by a man who hasn't had a blockbuster in over a decade. Poetic justice, California style. The governor who perfected the art of image just got outperformed by Hollywood's king of chaos, and the whole world had front row seats. In the end, Mel Gibson didn't just expose Gavin Newsom. He exposed California itself. The glittering illusion of perfection that's always one power outage away from total chaos. A state where every street looks like a movie set, and every politician acts like they're auditioning for sainthood. So while Gavin scrambles to patch his image, and Mel returns to being California's most unpredictable export, the rest of us can just sit back and enjoy the show. Because in a world this absurd, sometimes it takes a Hollywood meltdown to remind us, politics isn't just performance. It is the performance. And this one deserves an Oscar.
Recognize we have to do more in terms of prescribed burns. We do have to do more on vegetation management. We do have to do more on our forest management efforts. And you can exhaust yourself with your ideological BS by saying, well, 100 years ago we should have done this or that. All that may be true. And I'm not going to suggest for a second that the forest management practices in the state of California over a century plus have been ideal.
But this story didn't fade like the usual California controversy that disappears after 2 news cycles. No, this one had staying power. Every time Gavin tried to move on and talk about housing, climate, or his favorite topic, himself, someone somewhere brought up the Mel Gibson fiasco. It became the ghost haunting every podium, the uninvited guest at every press conference. Weeks later, a reporter asked about renewable energy, and all people heard was renewable, like Mel Gibson's relevance. The internet didn't miss a beat. Memes flooded in, one showing Gavin frantically plugging leaks in a dam labeled California Problems, while Mel stood behind him holding a sledgehammer labeled The Truth. Even late-night hosts, who usually treat Newsom like the prom king of progressive politics, couldn't resist. They joked that California had finally discovered a new renewable resource, Gavin's endless ability to embarrass himself. Mel Gibson, who probably didn't even plan this chaos, suddenly became the accidental folk hero for fed-up Californians tired of polished speeches and empty promises. This wasn't about politics anymore. It turned cultural. People who couldn't agree on lunch suddenly agreed on one thing. Watching Gavin Newsom squirm was pure entertainment. But somewhere between the laughs, something shifted. The glossy California myth cracked. The mask slipped. And once people saw the performance for what it really was, no amount of perfect hair gel could make it shine again. Because when Hollywood and politics collide, one truth always survives: chaos exposes everything.